Okay, guys, welcome back to Crunch Time. This is the show where you get the latest and greatest of every single slate overview every single day. Today we have, I think it's a 10-game slate, I believe, on both sites, and joined today with Chris, aka Chris Air DFS. As always, Happy New Year, Chris. How are you doing?
Pretty good. I'm excited for this 10-gamer, so yeah, excited to dive in, get to the picks, hopefully pick some winners, and yeah, have a good night.
Yeah, picking winners is always good. I'm with you on that one. Yeah, there's quite a bit of news today, I think, that is important to watch out for. I guess we'll go over it game by game and then bring that up as we see it. Before we do that, before we jump into the first game, some housekeeping. As always, if you guys are joining again and you guys enjoy the show, be sure to subscribe so you can get notifications when we go live, and like the video. It helps us a lot with the algorithm. So if you do that, that would be really good. We'd appreciate it a lot. And with that said, as always, we use our dfscrunch.com optimizer projections tool to go over the slate. So if you guys are interested in checking that out, just click the link in the description and you can sign up and kind of use the tool as we use it. There's a 3-day free trial, so it's no risk. And yeah, let's get into it. Let's go right into the first game, Miami versus Dallas. We can go over the Miami news first. We have Butler probable, Vincent probable, Olynyk probable, and that's it right now for the starters. We have, if Butler's in, Butler, Hero, Robinson, Harkless, and Bam Adebayo. What do you think of this one, Chris?
So just because we have such a big slate here, we're not going to be picking from many guys in this game. Miami has an implied team total of 112, and the big news here is that Jimmy Butler is back today, so we don't have the value pieces in Hero, Dragic, guys like that anymore. You can take some shots on Butler. We're not sure about a minutes restriction yet, so we'll have to keep an eye on that one. His price tag is fair. He's 7.8 on DraftKings, 8.1 on Fanduel, so definitely a decent GPP player, but not someone I'm trying to jam into my cash games. Outside of him, I mentioned Dragic. He's still priced as if Butler was out, so probably staying away from him. Someone that always stands out from Miami on DraftKings is Duncan Robinson, just because of the 3-point bonus over on DraftKings. He's only 4.4K, it's a fair price. If you're landing there as a last piece, I don't hate it, but not someone I'm trying to jam into my lineups either. So probably GPP only for me. Yeah, so just to summarize, there's not too much here, just because we have other games that have better fantasy value for us later on.
Yep. We have a comment already from Hasty in the chat. He's asking about Hero, or not asking, he's just saying Hero. Do you like Hero today?
Hero? I mean, he's okay, but he's like 5.3 on FanDuel. Not sure of his price. Yeah, 6.5 on DraftKings. So he's priced as if Butler was out on DraftKings. I don't mind him on FanDuel, 5.3K. It's not bad. Like, if you think he can go for 35 fantasy points, sure, put him in your tournament lineup, but not too much interest there for myself.
Yeah, it looks like we do have a lot of updates coming in on our projections. Okay, yeah, Hero looks kind of expensive on DraftKings for me. That's kind of high with Butler back in, so I'm with you on that.
Yeah, probably stay away.
Yeah, stay away for sure. Okay, next up we have Dallas. Right now we just have Maxey Kleber out for them, or probable. And then for their starters we have Doncic, Richardson, Hardaway Jr., Finney-Smith, and Powell. Any interest paying up for Doncic today?
Not in my cash games, but Doncic, he's looked really bad this season. Just looks out of shape, not hitting his shots. He needs the shots to fall to open up the rest of his game. So just for that reason, not targeting him in cash games. He's still priced up as he usually is, so we need that 60 from him. It's hard to predict that he will get there. at 11.3K on Fanduel. I think he's 10-3 on DraftKings, so a bit of a better price. I really like him in GPPs today just because the field will have the same thoughts I do right now. We obviously know how high his ceiling is. Like, he's been in 2 blowouts in the past 2 games, so I think that also is a reason why he's been performing poorly. Yeah, so I think he's probably an elite GPP target today just because he's going to be under-owned for him being Luka Doncic. Outside of him, not too much interest here. Everyone's just because their usage is so condensed towards Luka, not really any interest. Maybe Tim Hardaway Jr. if his shot is falling, he likes to chuck, but not too big of a fan of him. Yeah, I'm probably going to stay away from everyone here in cash games and then probably try to maybe double the field in GPPs on Luka Doncic.
Okay. Are you more interested in Luka on DraftKings because his price is a bit better for GPP, or do you like him on both sites equally for GPP?
His price is definitely better on DraftKings, but we know how high his ceiling is. Like, he puts up 60 sometimes, 70, has even a ceiling of like 85, 90, so
can definitely get there.
Yeah, he can break a slate for sure. His price tag doesn't really worry me just because we know how high the ceiling is.
Yeah, I'm going to put him in my yes bin on DraftKings and then my maybe bin on FanDuel. Okay, we can jump into the next game. We have Boston at Detroit. We can go over the Boston injuries first and their starters. Thompson back in and Green is out for them. Starters, we have Smart, Brown, Tatum, Tyus, and Thompson. Any interest today in this game?
Same sort of thing. We have 3 really elite game environments that we'll be talking about later. This game it has an over/under of 213, so I think it's the lowest on the slate actually. So nothing really stands out for me here. We have Tatum, 9.5K on FanDuel, 8.6 on DraftKings. Obviously, we know he has a ceiling if he plays 40 minutes. Like, he can break a slate as well, just like Luka. But he's just because of the game environment being so poor, we don't really want him in our cash games. Don't mind him in GPPs. Same thing as Jaylen Brown. Price is up. Had the big 42 real life point, 53 FanDuel points last game, so some people will probably chase that. I'm probably not too big of a fan in this matchup. As you said, Tristan Thompson's back, so no interest in Tyus anymore. He had the big game last time out with Thompson being out, but now with him in, no interest there. Maybe Peyton Pritchard, you can take some shots. He's been getting like 25 minutes as the backup point guard. He's near the min price on both sites, so don't mind him as a last piece, but definitely not someone that has a ceiling or someone I want to target.
Okay. Can go over the Detroit side of things here. Denver side of things. Wait, sorry. Detroit, my bad. Sorry, I saw the Grant jersey for him in Denver. Detroit side of things, we have Jackson out, Griffin out, Killian Hayes questionable, and then Okafor's probable. And then we have, for the starters projected right now, we have Hayes, Jackson, Bay, and Grant, and Plumlee. Any interest here?
Not really. This is the lowest team total or implied team total on the slate at 103, so not too much interest, but we do have some injuries here. Blake Griffin's out, as you said, and then Killian Hayes is someone we'll have to monitor. So I think Saddiq Bey, he's a fine last piece just because he's so cheap over on DraftKings, only 100 over the minimum price. So he's 3.1K. Don't mind him if he's starting. Obviously, we'll have to keep an eye on that. We don't know who's going to start for them. Josh Jackson, another guy I really like as a last piece. Obviously, if we have to keep an eye on if he's starting as well. So a lot of the pieces here we'll have to monitor to see who the starting lineup is. So just depends. Like, if Josh Jackson starts, I have interest there. If Saddiq Bey starts, I have interest there. If Killian Hayes is out and they move Derrick Rose to the starting lineup, he's probably going to be one of the top value plays on the entire slate. So definitely just have to monitor the starting lineups for this game.
Okay. Let's jump into the next one. We have Memphis at Charlotte. Let me open that up. I think LaMelo broke the slate yesterday for GPP, right?
Yeah, 2 days ago.
Yeah, 2 days ago. Last time he played, I mean. So that was pretty interesting. Do you think we'll get to see that again? Do you think he can break a slate again?
I mean, I don't think he's going to be 1% owned today just because he had the good game last time out. But it really just depends on minutes with him. Like, if he sees 15 to 20 like he did the first 3 games, we don't want to touch him. If he sees 30 minutes like last game, then we have a lot of interest.
Yeah. Okay. We can go over Memphis injuries first. We have Tilly out for them, Porter out for them, Melton is out as well, Tillman out, Winslow also out, and then Grayson Allen, I think that was one of the key pieces of news to watch out for today's slate, is doubtful. Do you think he's going to play?
No, doubtful usually means they're out.
Okay. And then we can go over their starters right now. We have Tyus Jones, Bane, Brooks, Anderson, and Joval. Any interest in these guys today?
Yeah, so Desmond Bane is someone that really stands out for me on DraftKings if he's starting for Grayson Allen. He's a rookie for them. He looked really good last time out after Grayson Allen got hurt. So if he's starting for Grayson Allen, I have a lot of interest on him on DraftKings. Only 3.7K, so he makes the rest of lineups work. So I like Desmond Bane if he's starting. Tyus Jones, obviously he's starting for John Morant. If the game stays close as it's projected to, I think he can get there. I don't think he has too high of a ceiling, so that's probably the only problem with him. The guy here that probably has the highest ceiling is Joval. We've seen him put up 50, so he definitely has that ceiling. 7.7K on Fanduel, 8.3 on DraftKings, so you're paying a premium for him, but he can obviously get you there in tournaments. Definitely not a cash play for me. Yeah, you can chase Kyle Anderson, Dylan Brooks, but they're priced up with Ja being out, with Grayson Allen being doubtful, so not too much interest there for me today.
Okay. We have a comment from Hasty saying Bane is nice.
Yeah, Bane is nice.
Bane is nice. Okay, let's go into the Charlotte side of things here. In terms of news, we just have Monk probable, and then Cody Martin also probable. Was he suspended for the altercation with who was it with? Johnson?
James Johnson?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was just fined.
Fined? Okay. That was kind of strange watching that happen. But yeah. For their starters, we have Graham, Rozier, Hayward, Washington, and Bismack Biyombo. Any interest in these guys today?
Same sort of thing that I've said the last few games. Like we have better games to target players from. This one's decent. Like DraftKings, Gordon Hayward is 7.1K, so that price stands out for me, but not really anything else that stands out too much for me. It's a pretty good matchup against Memphis. They have an implied team total of 113, so that's like middle of the pack. Just on a 10-game slate, we don't really need to pick guys here in cash games unless the price tag stands out, like Gordon Hayward on DraftKings. Not anyone on FanDuel that stands out for me. They priced LaMelo up to 5K, so that's a fair price for him. Terry Rozier, 6.9K, too expensive for me. Devontae Graham, he's interesting, 6.1K on FanDuel. Don't mind that as the last piece, maybe in tournaments, but not someone that's going to make my cash build today.
Okay. Gordon going to get some against Boston, revenge game.
Gordon, he's playing against Memphis.
Yeah. I guess
maybe in the future.
When that comes up?
I guess so.
Okay. Okay, let's go into the next one. We have Atlanta versus Brooklyn. Let me open it up on both sites here. Okay, and can go over the Atlanta injuries first. We have Rondo out, Okongwu out. These names. Hunter out, Gallinari out. Hunter probable. Trey Young back in, and Snell is out. For their starters, we have Young, Reddish, Hunter, Collins, Capella. Collins, who do you think is going to get minutes between the two as the season progresses? Do you think they can split the minutes, Capella and Collins, or how do you think that's going to play out? And do you have any interest in either of them today?
Yeah, so as for their minutes, Collins starts at the 4, Capella starts at the 5, so not really too much overlap there. Even though I like Collins more when he's playing the 5, I think it's fine that they're playing alongside each other. Collins is pretty cheap, so this is one of the games that's my favorites. We had this game two nights ago, I believe, and it absolutely shot out. The over-under was like 240, and then it ended up being like 280 final. Like both teams scored 140, so definitely potential to shoot out. This is probably my favorite game of the slate to take players from. Trey Young on Fanduel, 9.7K, really stands out for me. Just because they have condensed usage that funnels towards him. So I do like that price tag on Fanduel. 10.1 on DraftKings. It's decent as well. Don't know if I need it today, but I don't mind it if you want to spend up for him. John Collins, as you mentioned, and as I said earlier, I think he's a little too cheap. He's 7K on Fanduel, which is a really nice price tag. 7.2 on DraftKings also fits for me. So with Gallo being out, maybe some extra minutes to Herter, Reddish, Hunter. These guys are more last pieces if you find them in your lineups. Just because you don't know who's going to get there. Like it could be Reddish one night, Hunter another night, Herter another night. So you just don't know. Yeah. And I'll probably add Bogdanovic to that list as well. You don't know where the secondary scoring is going to come from on Atlanta.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, people seem to like trade today in the chat. Reddish looks like a whole new man this season from Hasty.
I liked him last year too. He was pretty good.
He's good, yeah. Okay, Brooklyn side of things. Jeff Green is in. Starters, we have Irving, Harris, TLC, Durant, and DeAndre Jordan. Do you have any interest in paying up for both KD, Irving? Is that viable? Because you said you like this game a lot, the totals, right? So do you have any interest in those guys?
So last time out, they had a implied team total of 123. Ended up being 140. Today it's even higher. It's at 125 right now. So definitely the highest on the slate tonight. KD's KD. Like he's looked really good. As long as he gets 34 to 36 minutes, like he'll smash in this matchup. He's too cheap on both sites. 9.1 on DraftKings, 9.4 on Fanduel. So really stands out for me. He's on the cover of our thumbnail today, so that's how you can usually tell who I like. Kyrie, another guy, same sort of thing, like 9.3K on Fanduel, 9.3 on DraftKings as well. So just in this elite game environment, they both really stand out for me. Maybe Joe Harris as a last piece if you want to take some shots. But outside of the two main guys, we don't really know where it's going to come from. Karis LeVert as well, GPP only for me. So yeah, I really like the main two guys in KD and Kyrie, but outside of that, I probably don't have too much interest in my cash games.
Okay. Yeah, some people in the chat, Hasty thinks KD's going to go off tonight. We can go over to the next game. We have Chicago at Milwaukee. Before we do that, I think we just got confirmation that Aldridge is out today.
LMA?
Yeah, LMA.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, so that's confirmed. We'll go over that once we get to that game. Okay, so let's go over this one. We can go over... Let's do Chicago first. Markkanen out, Satoransky out, Archie Diacono out, and Hutchinson out. And then for their starters, we have Kobe White, Zach LaVine, Porter, Williams, and Wendell Carter Jr. Any interest in this game?
So yesterday we had the same situation with Chicago. All the same guys were out, and Otto Porter absolutely smashed. I think he went like 11x. He actually went 13x on FanDuel, so he had 55 FanDuel points, only 4.3K. So he's probably going to be in every single lineup generated today just because his price tag didn't move. Still 4.4K. On DraftKings, I think he's a little bit more expensive. Do you
5'6".
have that? Yeah, so 5'6". It doesn't stand out as much. It's decent if you want to land there as a last piece, but definitely not as strong of a play as on FanDuel. Kobe White, he's their only point guard available. He played 40 minutes yesterday, so that's always nice. If his shot is falling, he can get there. Like him a lot in GPPs. The problem with this game is that we have a 15-point spread, so this is sorry, this is the biggest spread we've seen all year. So if you're into predicting a blowout, this is where it will come from today. So yeah, that's probably why I don't have too much interest paying up for Levine today. I think we have better pieces in other spots, but Kobe White 6.1K on FanDuel, 6.4 on DraftKings is fine just because he's their only guy available at point guard.
Yep.
And then last guy I'll touch on is Thaddeus Young. I think he's probably grading out to be a lock for me on both sites. 3.7 on FanDuel, 3.5 on DraftKings. So I do like that a lot. He's not starting, but he still should see 26 to 30 minutes, which is really nice for that price tag. We always know Thad Young can get there when he gets the minutes.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't give your disclaimer saying, I don't like to predict blowouts, but you didn't do that.
Well, I mean,
today.
in this case, if it's a 15-point game, like 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter, their starters probably aren't going to come back in.
The Milwaukee games this year, I think they've had a few blowouts, right?
Yeah, they've all been blowouts except for 2 games. So their first game wasn't a blowout, next 3 were, and then last game wasn't.
Yeah. Okay. I have a question from Thomas about Drew Holiday. Let's just go over the news first, then I'll bring that one up. For Milwaukee, we don't have anything noted, no new injuries. Starters, we have Holiday, Dante, Middleton, Giannis, and Lopez. What do you think of these guys today in this environment and this potential blowout?
Yeah, so this Bucks team is projected to score 124 today, so second highest on the entire slate to Brooklyn at 125. Drew Holiday, as that comment mentioned, he's just too cheap. Like if they get full minutes and this game doesn't blow out, Drew will absolutely smash that price tag. We usually get him at like 8K to 9K, so 6.6K on FanDuel, just way too cheap for Drew Holiday. Same as on DraftKings, also 6.6K. If this game stays close, you have a lot of upside there with him. Giannis, he's sort of tricky today. Probably more of a cash play, but just because we have other spend ups that we're prioritizing, we don't need to play him in this potential blowout for his price tag. 11.4 on FanDuel. I think he's a little less on DraftKings. Yeah, 11K on DraftKings.
Yep.
So I'm okay with him in cash, but not someone I'm targeting, not someone I'm prioritizing, sorry. And then same as Chris Middleton, same sort of thing. He's priced as he should be. Obviously, if this game can stay close somehow, he can get there. One guy I'll mention, we've talked about this sort of idea before. Bobby Portis, like, he plays minutes if the game is close, like he'll be on that secondary unit, and then if it blows out, he'll be in there during garbage time. So I do like Bobby Portis if you do think this game will blow out. It's also a revenge game against the Bulls, so if you're into that sort of thing, you get that. I think he had 50 FanDuel points in one game against the Bulls last year, so definitely some vengeance there.
Whose face did he break when he was at Chicago? Didn't he break someone's face?
Yeah, Mirotic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, like, if you think this game can stay close, I do like these guys, but just because we have better pieces elsewhere, we're not probably going to get here in cash games.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the players who would be good in a blowout situation, but you covered that already.
Yeah, Bobby Portis is the guy here.
Pardon?
Bobby Portis is the guy for that.
Yeah. We have a question. Hasty likes Holiday as well. Are you playing the Opto as is, or will there be some tweaking? Well, I guess what we always say is we really trust our projections. I think you don't want to deviate too much from them in NBA because they're really sharp. And then on DraftKings, you do have to make 2 adjustments. So, any comment on that, Chris?
Yeah, like if I normally do play the optimal unless there's some edge I see that can be gained elsewhere, but yeah, I'm probably playing the optimal.
Okay. Okay, with that said, let's go to the next game. We have LA Lakers versus San Antonio. Let me just open this up. We can go over the LA side of things first. I think there is some important news on that in this game that we're waiting on, mainly LeBron. We already have Aldridge confirmed, so we have that news. So yeah, LeBron is questionable. Caruso's out. And then for the starters, we have Schroeder, Caldwell Pope, James, if he is in, Davis, and Gasol. Do you think James is in today? And what do you think of this game?
Yeah, so usually when a player is questionable, I treat him as being in. We see LeBron questionable a lot, and he always ends up playing. So I'm not really going to risk anything too crazy here by playing Kuzma. AD, he hasn't looked good this year. He's been putting up really low numbers. Pretty surprising, actually, but his minutes have been around 30, so that could be why. What do we project him for currently? 46 fantasy points, so it's decent. Like, GPP only for me for sure at this point of the season, with his minutes being sort of low. They have a high team total here at 118, so LeBron could get there. AD could have a ceiling game. We haven't seen one yet this year, but obviously we do know he has 70-point upside. So I guess you can take some GPP shots, but nothing here stands out for me in cash games, assuming LeBron is in.
Okay. We have an update from Detroit. I think Hayes is probable, so he's probably going to play. I think he went through the shoot-around.
Yeah, okay, so
yeah,
that doesn't change too much. Probably just less interest in Derrick Rose.
Yeah. Okay, we can go over the San Antonio side. Aldridge confirmed out, Weatherspoon out, and White back in. Starters right now, we have Murray, Walker, DeRozan, Johnson, and Jakob Poeltl. What do you think of these guys today against the Lakers?
So the main thing here is that LMA is out. Same thing as last time. When LMA is out, usually try to jam in DeMar DeRozan and Jakob Poeltl. The prices didn't really increase Jakob Poeltl's price tag. I mean, the sites didn't increase Jakob Poeltl's price tag, so 4.5K on DraftKings, 4.6K on Fanduel really stands out for me. I think he's probably going to be one of my core plays today. DeMar DeRozan, better play on DraftKings, 7.3K compared to 8.3 on Fanduel, so definitely like him more on DraftKings. Probably going to be in my cash build, not sure yet. Keldon Johnson, I'm definitely staying away from him at this price, 5.8K on Fanduel and 5.6 on DraftKings. Don't have any interest there. And then the other piece I like from this game is Murray, DeJounte Murray. Just without LMA, he gets a bit more usage. Do we have news on Derek White? Yeah, so this is the first game Derek White is actually playing, so that's probably a little bit of a bump down to Murray, but not too much. With LMA being out still, I do have interest in Murray in GPPs.
Okay. Before we move on, we have a comment on Gasol from Hasty. He says he likes him at 3.7 and 3.9. What do you think of Gasol?
I mean, you can only play one center on Fanduel, so he's pretty much capped at 20 minutes. We have guys like Thomas Bryant at 5.6, I believe, and then now we have Jakob Poeltl at 4.5K. So just we have better pieces in other games for only a little bit more. Yep.
And then we have another question in the chat. Isaiah Stewart or Sadiq Bey?
I like Sadiq Bey. Huh?
Oh, no, go ahead.
Yeah, I like Sadiq Bey there, especially if we get news that he's starting. I mean, if Isaiah Stewart starts, like, I'll probably have more interest in him, but we'll just have to wait and see who Detroit starts.
Okay, let's jump into the next game. We have the Wizards playing Minnesota. Can go over Let me open this one up. We can go over the Washington injuries first. We have Westbrook out. And then for their starters right now, we have Nato, who crushed it last time. I think Westbrook was out. Beal, Denny, Avita, Ryu, Hachimura, and Thomas Bryant. Any interest in these guys today?
Yeah, so this is my second favorite game to target players from on the slate after Brooklyn and Atlanta. So no Westbrook means that we jam in Beal. Like we've done that last year when Wall was out. Always jam in Beal. So same sort of thing here. Beal gets all the usage. Beal gets all the shots. Everything just funnels his way. So 9.5K on Fanduel. He was priced up for the Westbrook news, but still too cheap just for his role. I really like Beal as a player. Love him in DFS, so someone I like on both sites as well in cash games and GPPs. Neto, you mentioned. I think he's more of a DraftKings play. Only 3.4K. Yeah, he's only 3.4K on DraftKings, so I do like him there in cash games. Probably a lock for me. We don't need him on FanDuel. 4.5K. We have some spend ups that we're prioritizing at point guard on FanDuel, so not too much interest there. Maybe in GPPs, but not in cash games for me. Thomas Bryant, 5.8K on FanDuel. That price stands out to me a lot. Not sure how much Thomas Bryant will be getting now that we have Jakob Poeltl starting for LMA, but I do like Thomas Bryant in GPPs and cash games. No Westbrook. He obviously has a ceiling. Assist rate should go up. Always has good steals and block upside, so I like Thomas Bryant as well.
What do you think of Denny? Last time Westbrook was out, I think he crushed the slate for me. Like he did really well. I think he's a little bit more expensive now. I think he was maybe minimum price back then.
So last time he actually played his season high in minutes. That game that Westbrook was out, he played 36. In all other games this year, he's been hovering around 24 to 26, so 10 more minutes. If you think he gets that minutes boost again, I do have interest there.
Yeah, on both sites as well, because he's quite a bit cheaper on FanDuel than DraftKings. I think 600.
Yeah, well, you're going to get him low owned on both sites. This is an elite game environment, so yeah, I don't mind him in GPPs.
Okay. Let's go into the Minnesota injuries. New injuries, we have Koji out and Noel out. Starters, we have Rubio, Russell, Beasley, Culver, and Reed. What do you think of Reed today? Obviously, Cat is going to be out for a while. And do you think Russell's going to play a bit better? Like I have him in my season-long fantasy. I was hoping he'd do better, especially with Cat out. What do you think of Russell today?
Yeah, so we have Cat out, and another big piece we have out is Okogie, so that helps guys like Culver. With D'Angelo Russell, yeah, I do like him a lot. He's probably one of my favorite plays on the entire slate. Last couple of games have been blowouts for him, so if you're just looking at the game log, it's not going to be pretty. He played the Lakers, and then he played the Clippers, so two very tough matchups there. Today, he gets Washington, which is like the best matchup for a guard, so a lot of interest in D'Angelo today. Lock on both sides for me, both formats. I do like him a lot. Naz Reid as well. Better play for me on FanDuel, 4.7K. As I mentioned last time, I'm not sure why they're not pricing him up on FanDuel with Cat being out, but just a smash play in this matchup against Washington with their guys being out. Ricky Rubio, 5.3K on FanDuel. I don't mind that as a last piece. 5.2 on DraftKings. That's decent as well. We project him to start, so if it's on a blowout, he gets the best matchup, so I do have interest in Rubio here. And last guy I'll mention is Jarrett Culver. He should start for Okogie. So every time we've had Jarrett Culver starting last season, he's looked really good. I don't really like him as a player per se, but in DFS, we don't mind him. He gets steals and blocks. He gets rebounds. Like last game, he shot 0 for 10. He had 0 points, but he had 10 rebounds, a steal, and a block. So you never know with the real life points, but if he does have his shot going, I think he has a pretty good ceiling for his price tag.
Okay. We do have a comment from Hasty on D'Lo. He's saying that D'Lo will always be a beta player. Any comment on that?
I mean, yeah, I don't disagree with him, but I'm a fan of D'Lo. Just I like his play style. It fits DFS well. He likes to chuck the ball, so everything looks good to me.
Likes to chuck the ball. Okay. Next game up, we have Phoenix against Denver. Looking over the Phoenix injuries first, we have Nader out, Smith out, and Saric out. Starters right now, we have Chris Paul, Booker, Bridges, Crowder, and DeAndre Ayton. What do you think of their duo, Ayton and Booker? I think they were a bit better last year, but now they have Chris Paul, right? So what do you think of playing these guys today? Maybe Booker?
Yeah, so as I always say when we go over the Suns, like, we're not going to have interest here unless there's an injury to Booker, Paul, or Ayton, just because they all share the ball equally. Not too much of a ceiling for Booker with Paul there, and vice versa. Ayton also, his minutes have been like around 28. We don't love that. We have better plays elsewhere. So I'm not a big fan of Phoenix on this slate. They're going against Denver, which is a pretty tough matchup. The game should stay competitive, but just not a team I like targeting players from.
Okay, let's go over. We do have a comment from the last game. Culver, hard worker, solid DFS guy. Another question. Thoughts on Monte Morris?
We'll go over that here with Denver.
Okay. Injuries, we have Jamal Murray, probable. JaMychal Green, questionable. Whittington out. And I think Porter Jr. is out with the COVID contact tracing, which is kind of... I don't know what to say about that. But do you think other players are going to follow?
Probably not. With Porter being out, I have more interest in Will Barton. But we'll have to see who starts for Michael Porter Jr. As for the question about Monte Morris, no, I don't have interest in him just because Murray is probable. If Monte Morris is starting for Porter, which I don't predict to happen, maybe you can take some shots there. But as of now, no, I don't have interest in Monte Morris.
Oh, before you go on, just go over the projected starters we have right now quickly. We have Murray, Harris, Barton, Millsap, and Jokic.
Yeah, so that's what I think as well. Barton will just slot in for Porter Jr., so no interest in Monte Morris. Will Barton, 5K on Fanduel, 5.5 on DraftKings. I do like him in GPPs. We've obviously seen his ceiling when he can take the shots that he wants to take. Jokic, I think he's a really good tournament play. No one really likes to play Jokic on Fanduel just because you can only pick one center. So if I'm playing tournaments, I will probably play him in, I don't know, double the field. What do we have him at now? 11%? Yeah, maybe I'll triple the field, put him at 30. I don't know yet, but we'll see. He's looked really good. Obviously an MVP candidate this year, so I'm a big fan of Jokic. Barton, as I mentioned, Millsap, I do like them in tournaments. Not really cash plays for me, but if you want to take some shots there, I don't mind it at all. And not too much else here.
Okay. You already touched on Monte Morris, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go into the next one. We have the Clippers against the Jazz. Let me just open it up on both sides here. One second. Okay, we can go over Clippers. They just have Marcus Morris listed out. And then for their projected starters right now, we have Pat Bev, George, Leonard, Batum, and Ibaka. Is this a competitive game today?
Yeah, the spread is 3.5 favoring the Clippers, so it is a competitive game. But with that being said, we have better games to target today, so not too much interest in the Clippers. They're all healthy other than Marcus Morris. So everyone here is priced fairly. Nothing stands out for me. Kawhi and Paul George always GPP viable, same as Lou Will. If he starts hitting his shots, if he's on fire, like, he can break a slate, but not too much interest here for me in a cash game setting.
Okay. Let's go over the Jazz then. Injuries, we just have favors probable. Projected starters right now, we have Conley, Mitchell, Bogdanovich, Royce O'Neal, and Gobert. We have a question about Gobert if you're interested in paying up for him today from Hasty. And other than that, what do you think of the other guys? Mitchell, I think his price kind of went down a bit compared to what it was last year.
Same sort of thing that I say when I talk about the Suns. Like, all these guys are healthy. They're on a back end of a back-to-back, so we don't know if they're going to cap their minutes. I don't have interest in playing Gobert today. We don't know who's going to be the guy that gets most of the shots. It's usually spread around. It's even between their top 4 players, and then Clarkson even comes off the bench. He takes a lot of shots, so not much interest here with them being healthy.
What do you think of the Mitchell price difference between Fanduel DraftKings? I think Fanduel, he's 8K, and then over on DraftKings, he's 6.8.
I mean, obviously the DraftKings price is better. If you're landing there as the last piece, yeah, I don't mind it, just because he's cheaper, like probably 1K too cheap. But I still think we have better pieces elsewhere that we can target from.
Yeah, that's probably why we have him projected. I think he's the highest projected ownership player in this game here on the DraftKings side. Okay, let's open up the last game before we do some cash core plays. Let's open up Portland, Golden State on both sides. Give me a second. Open up the starters. For Portland, we have Little out, Trent questionable, and that's it. For the starters right now, we have Lillard, McCollum, Derek Jones Jr., Covington, and Nurk. What do you think of the Trailblazers today?
So this is my third favorite game to target today. I think it's going to go under-owned, so I really like this game in tournaments. With these guys, obviously Dame, he's playing in Oakland. He always seems to play well in his... Or they're in San Francisco now, but near Oakland, he always seems to play well against the Warriors just because it's his hometown team. So I do have interest in Dame. He actually put up 85 last year against them, 85 Fanduel points. So there's upside. His other game against them was 60, so definitely he does like to play against them. It's usually a shootout just because 2 high, fast-paced teams going against each other. So I do like Dame a lot. 9.3K on FanDuel looks pretty good to me. 9.8 on DraftKings, a bit more expensive. Probably not too interested. Only in GPPs there for me. CJ, he's looked good, but I don't know if he'll keep it up. I think he's been kind of hot. Usually don't like to take players when they're priced up because they've had a few good games.
Yeah, you don't want to buy high.
Yeah, so not too much interest in CJ, but this is a really good game environment, so maybe you can take some shots in GPPs. Another guy here, Derek Jones Jr., he always hovers around the minimum price, so if you need him as the last piece, I never mind that. Obviously, he can get there with steals and blocks in this high-paced game, so I do have some interest there as a last piece, but yeah, outside of their 2 top guys, not really too much here. Nurkic, he hasn't been playing a lot of minutes, so I'm staying away from him for now.
Okay. We do have a comment from Hasty in the YouTube chat saying Golden State Warriors, no defense. They look terrible today, or this year. So
yeah, I mean, both of these teams have looked terrible. So that's why we like to target this game in DFS.
Yeah. Okay. Golden State side of things, Green probable, and then Pascal questionable. Starters projected, we have Curry, Oubre, Wiggins, Green, and Wiseman. Any interest on the Golden State side of things in this game?
Yeah, so both sides priced up Curry to where I think he should be. He's 9.6 on DraftKings, 9.9 on FanDuel, so we don't have interest in him like we did in the past. So these guys are mainly GPP targets. As I said at the start of this game, this is my third favorite game, so it projects to shoot out. So definitely some GPP upside here for them. First game for Draymond Green. Don't know if he's on a minutes limit. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But I like Andrew Wiggins a lot on FanDuel in tournaments, 6.4K. He's been playing like 36, 38 minutes last 2 games. So I do like that. He likes to chuck the ball. He can get blocks and steals just because he's so long. So that helps us a lot. And yeah, that pretty much does it for the Warriors.
Yeah, personally, I don't know. I think that Portland is a much better team than Golden State, even with Green back. So
yeah,
but it's projected to be a close game. But I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Portland kind of blows them out. But you always say if you can predict that, then you should just bet on the Vegas lines.
Yeah, exactly. I think Draymond Green being in will help the Warriors a lot, actually.
Difference maker?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Do you think we could see a big game from Wiseman? I think his price was 5.2 on one of the sites for GPP.
I'm not too big of a fan of Wiseman just because he seems to get into foul trouble a lot. I think he's still getting the hang of the NBA. So for now, no, not really. If he can stay out of foul trouble, yeah, I do like him. But it's tough to pick someone who you know will likely get into foul trouble.
Okay, we have one question from Hasty. I think it's one of his favorite players, Enes Kanter, ?
Kanter?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's looked good. Nurkic, his minutes have been down. Kanter's minutes have been up. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know why they play him. I don't think he's a good player. Like, I think they should play Harry Giles ahead of him. I just think it fits their team better. But, I mean, if he's getting minutes, he obviously always gets a ton of offensive rebounds and putbacks, so that's good in DFS.
Okay. With that said, we can go into, if you guys have any questions, we have dedicated Q&A time right now. If you have any questions about roster, lineup construction, optimizer settings, any news, any 1v1s in your lineups, anything like that, we can go over that now on both sites. And before we do that, as always, if you guys enjoy the content so far, be sure to subscribe so you get notifications when we go live, and then also like the video. That helps us out a lot. And also, as always, if you guys like what you see with our optimizer, our projections, you guys can go on our website, dfscrunch.com. We have a 3-day free trial, no risk at all. You can cancel if you don't like it, or keep it if you do like it. You get access to everything that we're using today. You also get access to our Discord community where we, bring up slate news as it pops up. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff here. We have Fanduel Draftkings. We have a bunch of sports. What sports do we have, Chris?
We have a bunch. We had college football was the main secondary sport today. So I think we have some bowl games, which is pretty cool. I haven't been watching yet, but I think we have Clemson playing later with Trevor Lawrence. So probably be watching that game.
Okay. We have a question from Shane on YouTube. Good show, guys. Can you explain how you utilize your player groups when making, GPP lineups? Oh, when making the yes, no, maybe bin. Well, that's just me as I go through the show, and Chris kind of brings different things up. I sort of just put players. This is for GPP. I only play GPP. I put the players that I have a lot of interest in just in the yes bin. Maybe are players I'm just going to have to take a look at more after the show, and then no are the players I probably want to not have today, like Giannis. I mean, the thing with GPP, if you want to take it down, you want to have a unique lineup, so you don't want to have the chalkiest players. So you have to take a stand sometimes like that. So that's how I do that bin.
So I just have a question with this. So after the show, obviously you changed the slider. What would you put the slider on for each of the groups that you have?
Right. So the no bin, whoever I put in here are players that I don't want at all. I don't exclude them in the tool here throughout the show because that's going to mess up our later part of the show when we go over some lineups that we like and some plays that we like. But over here, I would slide it all the way down to 0 out of 0, so I don't get any of these players here.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm gonna try to filter down the yes spin, but over here I would probably put it up to like three.
Minimum 3 or maximum?
Minimum of 3. So I get at least 3 guys in this group. And then over here, I'll probably move around some players from the yes and the maybe group. And the maybe one are just like some of the riskier plays, and I'm gonna probably put that one to like, it depends on how large the slate is, but like at least one player in this group, maybe 2. It's like sometimes what I like to do is like lock a player, a low owned player for GPP, but I think the player groups kind of give you a bit more flexibility because you can throw in a few players who you think are going to be under owned and you think will perform well, and kind of have like 1 or 2 of those guys in your lineups, because if you look at all the top lineups in GPP, they always have some guys who are like under 5%, under 7% ownership. So that's always important if you want to take it down.
Yeah, so just to add on to that, for your yes and maybe groups, do you cap it at anything, or do you just set a minimum?
Yeah, I haven't so far. The season just started, so I just started using this, but so far I don't cap it. I just keep it at the maximum. It's more about the minimum.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just about getting like some key guys that I like in every single build. You could also do it through minimum, but doing it this way sort of guarantees that you get like people in the bin that you have in the group that you have in all your lineups. So I like this so far. I'm having a lot of fun playing with that. We have a comment. Siakam screwed me bad last night. I would have won some real money from Ross. Yeah,
that was frustrating. So I actually had him in my Fanduel cash build, and then since I had House locked in the first game, I couldn't just swap him 1v1 with Norm Powell, so I had to go from RJ Barrett and Siakam to Norm Powell and Zion. And Zion obviously got into foul trouble, so he played like 16 minutes, which was pretty awful. And I had to leave like 1.5k on the table with my lineup just because it was such a small slate. But yeah, that was really frustrating.
Yeah. Siakam unreliable from Hasty. Yeah, so far he's been pretty... I think he doesn't look the same since the bubble. Probably feeds off the crowd a bit more. Huh?
He looked really bad in the bubble. He hasn't looked the same since Kawhi left.
I don't know. Say what you want. What's the best setting to set up for best chances to win double ups GPP? Would you put double ups more in the cash category than GPP, Chris?
Yeah, but technically they're GPP because they're guaranteed prize pool, but yeah, I treat them as cash games. And then for the settings, I just leave them at default. So 1 unique, no randomness, no minimum projection, and max exposure at 100.
Yeah. Okay, do you want to go over some core plays quickly?
Yeah. So, start on FanDuel?
Yeah, we can go FanDuel first.
Okay, so the first guy I'll mention here is D'Angelo Russell. We talked about him. I said that he was a lock for me on both sides, so I do like him a lot. And then next guy, shooting guard as well, Brad Beal. No Russell Westbrook, 9.5k is just, it's too cheap for someone we project to score 50 fantasy points. So I like that a lot. Otto Porter, small forward, 4.4k. Bunch of guys missing for the Bulls, so he's obviously in a good position. He got 55 yesterday with the same guys being out, so I don't project him to get 55, but if he gets us, I don't know, 25, 30 for his price tag, he's worth it. And then Naz Reid, he's just too cheap with Cat out on FanDuel, 4.7k, gets the best matchup on the slate, so everything lines up for him. And yeah, those are the 4 cash game plays. We get two good value plays and then 2 pretty decent spend ups.
Yeah. Well, I'll just touch up on what you said by value plays. It's like one of those things you kind of look out for when you play DFS. You want to find players who are underpriced, and typically players get underpriced when there's injury news after they released the player pricing for the next day slates. So yeah, it's important to look at, and we do offer that in our projections in our tool. So you can always sort by points per 1,000 fantasy dollars and sort of see who the best fantasy plays are. Typically, like the value plays are going to free up your salary, so you can actually afford some higher end plays.
Yeah, so if we play guys like Nasreed and Otto Porter who are underpriced, we can also spend up for high tier players who are underpriced in their new roles, like Brad Beal and D'Angelo Russell. And also it'll allow us to fit in other pieces. I think as when we build this lineup, you'll be able to see that.
Yeah. So yeah, that's just like one of the more important things to consider when you're constructing your DFS lineups, the price discrepancies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here it is. Let me just close the slider.
Yeah, so
Trey
I guess we'll start with the guys who are like popping in every build. Beal was a lock. Russell was a lock. KD, he's popping up in the first 6. I went over him. It's the best game environment. He's 9.4K, I believe. So it's too cheap for KD in this matchup. Otto Porter, he was a lock. Nasreed, he's a lock as well. Thad Young, went over him, 3.7K. Just Thad Young always seems to get there when he gets the minutes, so really good price tag. Excuse me. And then Thomas Bryant. So no Russell Westbrook, just more shots for Thomas Bryant. I think he's 5'6", so it's just too cheap for him.
5'8" on title.
Yeah, 5'8", so we project him for 35, so 5.8 is just way too cheap for that projection. As for the differences here, we have Trey Young and Rubio versus Kyrie and Tyus Jones in the first 2 lineups. So what I look at here is I'll touch on the value guy here first. It's Ricky Rubio versus Tyus Jones. I think I would go with Rubio, even just straight up, even though we project Tyus Jones a little higher. He gets the elite game environment against the Wizards, and obviously no Cat, so he should start. Ricky Rubio, he can do a bunch of things. He gets a bunch of assists. He can score if his shot is on. Steals, he does that well. So I do like Rubio more on that side. And then Trey Young versus Kyrie. Since we have KD in this lineup, I do like going for Trey Young more on the other side of this game. If KD is playing well, probably don't expect Kyrie to have a ceiling in the same game. And then we have Trey Young, who's on the other side. So if the game stays competitive, if it's high scoring, we know Trey Young is going to be the guy for Atlanta that keeps them in the game. So I'm a big fan of Trey Young at 9.7K today.
Okay. We have some questions that came up as we went through that. We have one from Shane on YouTube. I think he's a new member, new cruncher. He's asking, what is your preferred MME settings, GPP settings, if you're making multiple lineups?
So when I'm making multiple lineups, like if you just run the top 150 optimals, you'll probably have a good floor with your lineups, but you'll never take something down just because you're going to be so chalky. What I like to do, I don't really like to mess with the optimizer settings. Maybe I'll put unique at 2, but that's the only thing I would do there. And then I would just go through the player pool, see who I like, adjust some projections. So let's say I don't think Bradley Beal is going to get, what's he at, 49? So let's say I think he's going to get like 44. Obviously, if we put him at 44 projection, at a projection of 44, he's not going to come up in any of our builds just because he's 9.5K. So I like to play around with projections, adjust things as I see fit. And then if you want to jam in players, you can use the minimum percent column over there. What that does, if you make him minimum 30%, that just means you'll have a minimum of 30% Bradley Beal in your build. Same thing as maximum. If you make it at 30, you'll have a maximum 30% of Bradley Beal in your build. So yeah, I like to play around with the projections and the exposure more so than the optimizer settings.
Yeah, and as you guys can see, all the projections that we have, they update all throughout as news comes out. So there's some changes right now. Jakob, his projection went up from 19 to 20, almost 26 now. So
Hurdle, with LMA out, yeah.
Yeah. think we just got confirmation Hunter is playing today for Atlanta. I'll also say some things for MME settings. It also depends, like if you're playing the single game or the main slate or the bigger slates. But for single game, sometimes I like to mess around with the unique just because there's only so many players, and I don't know, I'd like to get like 2 or 3 unique guys, and I kind of, for those ones, I sort of like to lock in like either my captain slot a bit more, or I got, what is it, MVP on FanDuel? Whatever the multiplier is on both sides, I like to lock that guy in usually. And yeah, the other thing I like to do is the player groups as well. Yeah, it kind of gives you, the player groups kind of give you some control over your core pieces, and then you can kind of adjust the slider based on how risky those guys are and how much of those guys you'd want to have in your MME builds. So that's what I like to do. I like to have like my no-bin players I'm fading, who I think like high projected ownership players who I'm going to fade, I'll put in here. Some of the riskier plays I'll put in here, and then some of my favorite plays I'll put in here, like the locks that Chris went over today. I'll probably put them all in here.
Yeah. So can I just touch on that really quickly?
Yeah.
So as you can see in this build, like if we're trying to switch it to a MME for GPP, like you can try to see players who negatively correlate. So like if you're going for a ceiling lineup and you're going for a takedown, like you kind of want your players and your lineup to tell a story. So let's just say let's say you have Ricky Rubio and D'Angelo Russell in the same lineup. Like you have to ask yourself, do you think that Ricky Rubio and D'Angelo Russell can both have a ceiling game in the same game, like on the same team? So you just have to ask yourself that. If you think they can't, just make a group with both of them in it, set it to 0 to 1. So that just means that you'll get a maximum of 1 of those 2 players in every build. If you just hit build again, Gary, you can see that you can just show that the rule was applied. Yeah, so now you can see you get a bunch of D'Angelo Russell just because he projects better point per dollar, and then now you have no Ricky Rubio with D'Angelo Russell. Like if you were building 100 lineups, you would have some with Rubio, and then obviously those wouldn't have D'Lo.
Yep. Yeah, and the other thing, if you're doing MME, after you build your lineups, you can just look at the the players card. So that just gives you an overview of who you have and who you don't have, and then it's quite convenient here because you can see our projected ownership and then your actual ownership. So you can see if you're higher, over or under the field for certain players. So you can see here, like for Brad Beal, he's projected at 20%. We have him 5x, 100% of our lineups. So you're obviously, like, if he does well, you'll be in a better situation than a lot of the players in the contest. And that works both ways. Like if you fade someone who does poorly, same thing. So I also like to look at like who I'm leveraging in that sense as well. Otto Porter's small forward on FanDuel, right?
Yeah, 4.4K, so too cheap. And then I just want to go over this question from Aiden on the Discord. He said, is there a way to save builds, for example, keep the same projections for cash and adjust them for GPP? Yeah, so I actually thought of this today just because I'm MMEing today, so I want to make like 2 different profiles. So you can make one with your just normal cash settings, and then you can create a new profile and then adjust projections, exposure, all of that, locks, excludes. Like you can do it all separately. So we'll definitely be adding that soon.
Yeah, also I'll touch up on that as well. Like if any of the members have any suggestions for features, or if there's something you'd like to see that you don't have in other optimizers or you'd like to see here, we're always open to adding new things and developing our tool and just kind of making it the best one out there. So yeah,
and we're usually pretty quick with adding features, so like it won't be like a month like probably other sites will be.
Yeah, a bit leaner. Yeah, like one thing we're working on now, making a lot better, is our late swap. Like it's a little bit lacking right now. Like it's not the most intuitive. That's something we'll be redesigning and fixing because it's a really important feature to have, like with the Siakam news yesterday. So we just want to make it a lot easier and straightforward and just more
intuitive.
Yeah, just so you guys can kind of have a better advantage compared to other players using other tools. So we just want to make it the best one possible. So that's something we're focusing on right now. That's the biggest priority. Yeah, we can go over on. Are there any other questions? Are you guys rolling with NATO tonight?
Yeah, so we'll go over DraftKings. He's more of a DraftKings play. I guess that goes into it well because he was going to be the first guy that I'm adding as my core play today, just because he's going to start for Westbrook. He's 3.4K, just way too cheap on DraftKings. So yeah, he's a lock for me in cash games. And then after you do that, we can add D'Lo. Same reason as Fanduel, just too cheap for this role. This matchup is great. Everything it lines up for D'Lo today. DeMar DeRozan, I talked about him when we went over the Spurs. He's cheaper on DraftKings, 7.3K. That price really stands out for me without Aldridge playing. Next up, we have Bradley Beal. Same thing, no Westbrook, 9.4K, just too cheap in this game environment. And yeah, those are the 4 locks today.
Okay, let me just double check my settings. 0, 0, 0. Optimizer settings, correct. Okay. Yeah, and I think while it's building, one other thing we're going to add is, let's go back. Up at the top, like we have these player filters here by position. Something we're going to add soon, I think Chris likes the idea too, is add beside here, like Chris's top picks, his core plays, and then maybe one for my favorite GPP plays. And I think we'll probably develop that a bit. Like if we have more members on our team who release content, we can add their filter in here, so you guys can kind of see all of this as the slate progresses, as news comes out, all in here. So I think that'll be quite useful once that's done.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, here it is.
Yeah. So just for the common pieces here, it's Bradley Beal. He was a lock. DeMar DeRozan. He was a lock. Thad Young, I didn't lock him on DraftKings, but obviously he's coming up in 8 of the 10 top lineups, so he's probably a near lock. I think he's 3.5 on DraftKings. That price tag is too cheap for him. As I said on FanDuel, whenever he gets like 26 to 30 minutes, always seems to get there. So I like Thad Young a lot. Naz Reid, didn't lock him on DraftKings just because he's a little bit more expensive, but his price tag is still too cheap with Cat being out in this elite game environment. So big fan of Naz Reid. Neto, obviously a core play. Culver, we mentioned. Yeah, so Culver is part of the 2v2 between the top lineups here. So Curry and Culver versus Tyus Jones and Tatum. I'm not too high on Tyus Jones today, as I mentioned when we went over the FanDuel 2v2. But you do get Tatum. I don't mind Tatum. It's not a great game environment. I think we would rather target Steph Curry as a spend up here. Obviously, when we went over that game, I was saying it's my 3rd favorite game, so I like Steph Curry a lot. And then Jarrett Culver, he's probably going to start for Okogie, so I do like that as well. So yeah, definitely like the first build more than the second one here.
Yeah, I think Hasty trusts the projections as well, because both of the 2v2s that we had on FanDuel and DraftKings, he prefers the first one, so
nice.
He likes Curry Culver all day over Jones Tatum. If you guys have any more questions before we wrap it up, we can go over them now. Other than that, I don't know what else is there.
Let's see if we got any new news, but I don't think we did. Yeah, so the Hawks are starting Young, Reddish, Hunter, Collins, Capella, so as expected. Yeah, I think that's good.
Yep. Okay. I think we have one last question. Do you think Thad is going to come off the bench? I'm thinking of playing Williams pivoting off Otto, similar price on FanDuel from Aiden in Discord.
Do I think that is coming off the bench? Yes, I do think that is coming off the bench. If you're just looking at the game log yesterday, I think Patrick Williams got into foul trouble. I think Patrick Williams started at the 4, and then Otto started at the 3. Maybe if you're MMEing, you can create a group that only plays one of Thad and Otto Porter. But I don't know. They're both so cheap that they kind of fit all builds. Yeah, so I like both of them. I think they can both get there for the price tag.
Okay, I think Aiden's typing out one more question. We can answer that and then wrap it up. Expected that Williams / Otto playing at 3-4. Didn't realize that. That's what he said.
So I think Otto plays more of the 3, Williams plays more of the 4, and then I think, let me just look it up. Let me see what they did yesterday. Chicago. Actually, I can't see it, but yeah, I think Williams got into foul trouble, and then Thad Young came in for him, so I think they played them alongside each other.
Okay. Yeah, I guess before we add the feature where you can save your settings and stuff, what you can actually do is if you do your cash lineups first, you can always favorite them over here, and then they'll still show up here on the bottom bar save lineup, so you can see them.
The only problem with that is that, like, if you're building out your tournament, you change all the settings, and then
if there's a different
afterwards, you want to see what if the projection's updated, and then see. So yeah, that's definitely a high priority for us to add.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. With that said, I think we're done for the day. If you guys enjoyed the content today, be sure to like the video. That helps us out a lot. If you want to hang out with us again tomorrow, we do this show every single day, 2 hours before the main slate locks. So you can hit the subscribe and the bell button. Then you'll get emails every time we do this. It's free content. You always get like a great overview in about an hour. There's always Q&A. You get your questions answered. Get your questions answered. Get a good overview. And if you guys like the tool and you want to try it out yourself, we have a 3-day free trial. There's absolutely no risk. You can get that now. Usually it's $25 a week, $75 a month, and yeah, it's a great place to be. You also get access to our Discord, where we also answer questions leading up to the slate, and there's more news there. If there's news, I mean, we release it there. And with that said, thanks for watching. Good luck today, and see you guys tomorrow.